Life is a vapor, here for a moment, gone the next. Most of us live as if time is infinite, as though we've been promised decades still to come. We make plans for next year. We talk about someday. We procrastinate on the things that matter most, assuming we'll always have another chance. But deep down, if we're honest, we know that time doesn't wait for anyone. The days move forward without pause, without mercy, without guarantee. One sunrise slips into the next, and before we know it, whole years have vanished like mist in the morning air. The truth we often ignore is the one we cannot escape. Life is short. We often wake up and go about our routines without really acknowledging the gift of breath in our lungs. We scroll through our phones, complain about small inconveniences, chase after our to-do list, and forget how fragile this entire existence really is. We assume that we'll see our loved ones tomorrow. We believe we'll get another chance to say, "I'm sorry," or "I love you." But none of that is promised. The people we love, the dreams we hold, the moments we take for granted, they can all disappear in the blink of an eye. That's not meant to scare us. It's meant to wake us up. Because when you truly grasp how brief life is, you begin to live differently. You speak with more intention. You forgive faster. You let go of petty arguments and look for meaning instead of distractions. You don't waste time proving you're right. You spend it doing what's right. You start asking the deeper questions. What legacy am I leaving? Or what kind of person am I becoming? Am I living in a way that honors something greater than myself? These questions don't come from fear. They come from wisdom. Wisdom that knows the clock doesn't stop and every moment matters. It's a humbling thing to realize that one day our voice will go silent. Our name may be forgotten by history, and everything we accumulated will return to dust. What will be left is how we lived, the character we built, the truth we stood for, the love we gave, the faith we carried. What lasts isn't what's seen, it's what's eternal. And when we truly understand the shortness of life, we stop trying to control everything and start surrendering to the one who controls it all. So many people are waiting for the perfect time, waiting for clarity, waiting until they feel ready. But the longer you wait, the more life slips through your fingers. You don't need perfect conditions to start living with purpose. You need awareness. You need urgency. You need to stop assuming you have forever and start living like today could be your last. Because one day it will be. And none of us know when that day will come. If you knew your time was short, what would you do differently? Would you spend hours on distractions, on meaningless arguments, on chasing things that won't last? Or would you drop to your knees and live with your soul wide open? Would you pour yourself into the things that matter, your faith, your family, your calling, your character? Would you live not just to exist, but to glorify the one who gave you life in the first place? Life is a vapor. You can't hold it. You can't stretch it. All you can do is choose what you'll do with it while it's still in your hands. Don't waste another day assuming there will be more. Don't live in delay, fear, or distraction. Live in purpose, with clarity, and with a heart that knows the clock is ticking. Not in panic, but in peace. Because when you live with the reality that life is short, you begin to live every day as a sacred gift. And that is when life truly begins. We spend so much of our lives chasing shadows, things that look valuable from a distance but disappear when we reach out to grab them. Wealth, status, applause, comfort, these are the pursuits that often dominate our days. We think that if we could just get the next promotion, the next milestone, the next possession, then we'll finally feel complete. But it never works that way. The more we chase the temporary, the more empty we become. What we thought would satisfy ends up leaving us hungrier than before. It's like drinking salt water. It looks like it will quench your thirst, but it only makes you thirstier. And still, we keep chasing. Still, we keep running after things that will never love us back. It's easy to get caught in that cycle, especially in a world that tells you that your worth is based on how much you achieve, how much you own, and how many people recognize your name. But deep in your soul, you know that can't be the truth. Because even when you get what you wanted, something still feels missing. You lie awake at night wondering why you still feel empty. You smile for the world, but something in your spirit whispers, there has to be more than this. That whisper is not weakness. It's a signal, a sign that your soul was never designed to be satisfied by things that perish. You were made for more, so much more. When you stand at the edge of life, no one asks how much money you made. No one cares how many likes you had or what kind of car you drove. All that matters in that final moment is what can't be measured in numbers. Your faith, your love, your obedience, your heart. That's what echoes into eternity. Everything else fades. The applause dies down. The trophies collect dust. But the way you lived for truth, the way you loved others, the way you walked with God, that remains. That is real. That is lasting. So if you're going to run after anything in this short life, let it be something that doesn't disappear when you finally catch it. Let it be something eternal. There is a kind of spiritual sleep that slowly creeps over a person without them even realizing it. It doesn't come with loud alarms or dramatic warnings. It's quiet, subtle. It settles in through distraction, through comfort, through the routine motions of life. You keep going through your days, doing what you've always done, unaware that your soul is slowly drifting. Your heart starts to dull. Your passion fades. The fire that once burned inside you grows cold, and you begin to exist instead of live. You wake up every morning, but something inside you remains asleep. This is not how we were meant to live. We weren't created for a life of numbness, of going through the motions, of spiritual apathy. You were created for a life of fire, of meaning, of divine awareness. But that kind of life requires awakening. It requires shaking off the comfort that keeps you passive. It requires stepping into the light, even when it exposes the places you've neglected for too long. There comes a point where you must make a decision, keep sleepwalking through life, or wake up and live with eyes wide open. That decision doesn't come through force. It comes through conviction, a holy unrest that won't let you settle anymore. Too many people wait for a crisis to wake them up, a loss, a tragedy, a moment of pain, and suddenly their eyes open. But why wait until life shakes you to the core before you choose to live awake? You can decide right now. You can choose to open your heart today. You can decide that enough is enough, that the dullness ends here. There is no revival without awakening, and there is no awakening without a decision. So make it. Refuse to stay numb. Refuse to live asleep. Ask God to open your eyes. Ask Him to stir your soul again. Because the time for sleep is over. This life is too short to live half alive. It's time to rise. Your life was never meant to be random or meaningless. You were not placed on this earth by accident. There is a divine purpose behind your existence, a calling that goes beyond what the world can offer. Every breath you take is filled with potential. Every single day is an invitation to step into that calling, to live not just for survival, but for significance. Too often, people confuse movement with meaning. They stay busy, fill their schedules, pursue success, but inside they feel empty. That's because true purpose doesn't come from doing more. It comes from aligning your life with something eternal. Living with eternal purpose means shifting your focus from the temporary to the timeless. It means asking bigger questions. What am I building with my life? Who am I becoming? Is what I'm doing today connected to the reason I was created? Purpose doesn't always mean grand gestures or public platforms. Sometimes it means choosing faith over fear, choosing love over bitterness, choosing truth over convenience. Purpose shows up in the quiet moments. When you pray for someone in secret, when you sacrifice without applause, when you forgive even when it's hard. These small, unseen acts are the bricks that build a life that honors God. And the beautiful truth is that you don't have to wait to step into that purpose. You don't need a perfect past or the approval of others. You don't need everything figured out. You just need a willing heart, a heart that says, God, I don't want to waste the time you've given me. Use me, lead me, let my life count for something that matters forever. That kind of heart is powerful. That kind of life is unstoppable. Because when you live with eternal purpose, everything changes. Your time, your choices, your relationships, they all begin to reflect a deeper meaning. And even when life gets hard, you're anchored. You know why you're here, and you know who you're living for. We often treat today like it's just another routine checkpoint, a space to survive, to check boxes, to get through. But today isn't ordinary. It's sacred. It's the only piece of time you truly have. Yesterday is gone, and tomorrow is just a concept. What you have right now, this moment, this breath, is all you're guaranteed. That makes every single day an opportunity of eternal significance. The way you speak today, the choices you make, the way you treat others, the way you respond to God's voice, these things carry a weight we don't always recognize. Every day is a page in the story of your soul, and no page is ever wasted unless you choose to ignore it. We get so caught up in waiting for the perfect moment. We say we'll start praying more when life settles down, that we'll fix our relationships when we feel stronger, that we'll surrender more fully when we feel ready. But life doesn't wait, and those delays become weeks, months, even years of spiritual delay. The truth is, there is no perfect time. The only time that's truly perfect is now, because it's the only time you can act upon. Every heartbeat is mercy. Every sunrise is a reminder that God has still entrusted you with purpose. The question is, what are you doing with it? You don't have to change the world in a day. You don't have to have everything figured out by noon, but you do have to show up. You have to walk into this day with the awareness that it matters, that your words carry power, that your actions echo in places you can't see, that your time is a gift, not to be spent thoughtlessly, but to be invested with care and reverence. Because when this day ends, it doesn't come back. You can't rewind. You can't relive it. So live it with full attention. Live it with gratitude. Live it with purpose. Because when you begin to treat every day as sacred, something inside you shifts, and life becomes more than a countdown. It becomes a calling. At the end of your life, when everything fades into memory, it won't be the titles before your name or the wealth you accumulated that people talk about. It won't be the image you curated or the success you paraded. What will remain, what will truly be remembered, are the things that touched eternity. People will remember how you made them feel. They'll remember your compassion, your patience, your honesty, and your integrity. They'll remember the way you stood for truth, even when it wasn't popular. They'll remember the love you gave without expecting anything in return. These are the invisible fingerprints we leave on the world, the imprints of a soul that chose to live with eternal perspective. So many chase after recognition, desperate to be seen, to be praised, to be celebrated. But all of that fades. The world claps for a moment, then moves on. Fame is fleeting. Applause dies. But the impact you have when you live for something greater, when you live for God, can't be erased. It endures. Because it doesn't just change moments, it changes lives. A kind word, a faithful prayer, a quiet sacrifice, a life lived with deep conviction. These are the things that reach beyond time. These are the treasures heaven counts, even when the world does not. One day your story will be told, and when that story is spoken aloud by loved ones or by your Creator, the details that mattered most won't be about what you owned or achieved. They'll be about who you became. Did you walk in truth? Did you carry grace? Did you reflect God's light in a dark world? That's what echoes through generations. That's what lives beyond the grave. So if you want to leave something behind, make it more than possessions. Leave faith, leave hope, leave love. Let your life point others to what is eternal, because that's what will be remembered when everything else is gone. One of the greatest tragedies is not when a life ends, but when a life is never truly lived. There are countless people walking this earth with breath in their lungs, but no fire in their souls. They are alive, but not awake, surviving, but not thriving. They've allowed fear to shrink their dreams. They've let doubt silence their voice. They've traded boldness for comfort, purpose for distraction, and faith for familiarity. They think they're playing it safe, but what they're really doing is wasting what they were given. You weren't created to blend in, to simply exist from one day to the next with no direction. You were created to live with fire, with clarity, with courage, and most of all, with God at the center of it all. It takes boldness to live for something greater than yourself. It takes strength to say no to the world and yes to the call on your life. It's not always easy. In fact, it's often the narrow road, the uphill path, the quiet resistance against the pressure to conform. But that's where the beauty lies. Because the life that honors God isn't built in comfort, it's built in conviction. It's built when you choose to rise each morning with intention, when you choose to obey even when it's inconvenient, when you hold on to truth even when it costs you something. That's what makes a life powerful. That's what makes it meaningful. You were given this one life, not to merely pass through it unnoticed, but to illuminate it, to bring light where there is darkness, to bring love where there is hate, to bring faith where there is fear. But none of that will happen if you stay silent, small, or safe. You've been called to something higher. You've been entrusted with this moment in history for a reason. So step forward with boldness. Live with your heart on fire. Don't be afraid to be different. Don't apologize for standing for what's right. When you live fully alive, anchored in truth, driven by purpose, fueled by love, you begin to experience the life you were always meant to live. And that kind of life leaves a legacy that cannot be erased. Every soul is searching for something lasting, even if they don't know how to name it. Some call it peace, others call it fulfillment. But deep down, it's a longing for something eternal. We try to fill that longing with noise, with busyness, with distractions that promise relief but never deliver it. We chase happiness in fleeting experiences, in status, in relationships, in achievements, but it never satisfies for long. There's always a void, always a hunger. And that hunger isn't a flaw, it's a sign, a reminder that our hearts were made for something more, not for temporary highs or shallow pleasures, but for a deep, unshakable connection to our Creator. There's a peace that can't be bought, a joy that doesn't depend on circumstances, a strength that holds steady even in the storm. And it comes only when we live in surrender, not partial surrender, not occasional faith, but full, daily, honest surrender, the kind of surrender that says, I don't want to keep pretending I have control. I don't want to keep carrying burdens I was never meant to carry. I want to live the life I was made for. That kind of surrender is where freedom begins. It's not weakness, it's wisdom. It's choosing to place your life into hands far more capable than your own. When you surrender fully to God, the pressure to perform starts to fade. The fear of the future loses its grip. You stop striving to prove yourself and start resting in the truth that you're already loved, already seen, already called. And from that place of rest, you begin to walk in strength. You begin to move with purpose. You begin to rise above the noise of this world and hear the still, steady voice of the one who made you. That's where true life begins. Not when you grasp tighter, but when you let go. Not when you build your own kingdom, but when you seek His. Because everything you need is found not in striving, but in surrender. And when you live surrendered, you begin to live free. There's a quiet courage in choosing faith when everything around you seems uncertain. It's not loud or flashy. It doesn't always come with instant results or visible rewards, but it's real and it's powerful. Faith is the anchor that holds you steady when life becomes unpredictable. It's the decision to believe that even when you can't see the road ahead, there is a plan. Even when the answers don't come, there is still purpose. Even when prayers feel delayed, there is still love at work. That kind of faith isn't naive. It's not blind. It's rooted in trust. Trust in the character of God, not the comfort of your circumstances. Life will test your faith. There will be days when doubts whisper louder than truth. There will be moments when pain clouds your perspective, when the silence feels like absence. But faith is what reminds you that God's presence isn't defined by your feelings. He is there in the silence. He is working in the waiting. He is strengthening you even in the struggle. And often, it's in the places you least expect, those broken, uncertain, quiet places where your faith grows the deepest, because real faith doesn't just praise in the light, it clings to hope in the dark. And as your faith grows, so does your vision. You begin to see life differently. You stop living in reaction to fear and start moving in response to truth. You stop depending on temporary things to give you identity and start resting in the one who never changes. That shift changes everything, not just how you endure hardship, but how you handle blessing. Faith keeps you grounded when life is hard and keeps you humble when life is good. It becomes the lens through which you interpret every season, trusting that God is present, that He is working, and that your story is still unfolding. When you walk by faith, you may not always understand the path, but you always know who is leading you. And that knowledge gives you peace no matter what tomorrow holds. There is a temptation in this world to build your life on what can be seen, on what others can measure, applaud, and envy. But what's visible isn't always what's valuable. The foundation of your life, the thing that will determine whether you stand or fall when storms come, is not what you show others, but what's hidden between you and God. It's your character, your faith, your obedience when no one is watching. These unseen things are the pillars of a meaningful life. They're not built overnight. They're formed in the quiet decisions you make when it would be easier to cut corners, to compromise, or to follow the crowd. It's in those hidden moments that your true foundation is formed. A strong foundation doesn't mean you won't face trials. It means that when trials come, and they will, you won't be shaken, because your life isn't built on trends, emotions, or the opinions of people. It's built on truth, and truth doesn't change. Culture shifts, emotions rise and fall, people come and go, but God's word remains. And when your heart is anchored in Him, you don't have to fear what's ahead. You don't have to chase after approval or success to feel secure. Your peace isn't based on what you can control, but on the one who holds it all together. So take inventory of your life. Ask yourself, what am I building on? Am I building on temporary things, on image, wealth, or comfort? Or am I building on something that will still stand when everything else falls away? Because one day, everything you've built will be tested, not just by trials in this life, but by the weight of eternity. And only what is built on truth will last. That's why it matters so deeply to build wisely, to invest in your soul more than your status, to prioritize your walk with God more than your place in the world. Because in the end, it's not about how high you built, but how deeply you were rooted. And when the storms come, it's not the size of your platform that will keep you standing, it's the strength of your foundation. There's a powerful shift that happens when you stop living to impress people and start living to honor God. The pressure lifts, the anxiety fades. You no longer carry the unbearable burden of trying to be everything to everyone. You're no longer enslaved by the fear of rejection or the need for constant validation, because when your heart is focused on pleasing God, you begin to understand that His opinion is the only one that truly matters. The crowd is fickle, applause fades quickly, and public approval changes with every trend. But God sees the heart. He looks beyond your performance and into your motives, your desires, your intentions. And that's where real peace comes from. Not from being praised, but from knowing you're walking in obedience. Living for God is a quiet kind of strength. It's not boastful or loud. It doesn't seek attention. It doesn't demand recognition, but it's steady. It's rooted. It's unshakable. You start to walk differently, not with arrogance, but with quiet confidence. Not because you trust in yourself, but because you trust in Him. And when your heart is aligned with His will, even your smallest actions begin to carry eternal weight. You start to see success differently, not as popularity or position, but as faithfulness. Were you faithful with what He gave you? Did you love when it was hard? Did you stand firm when it was unpopular? Did you remain true when it cost you something? This kind of life may not always look glamorous. You may be overlooked by the world. You may be misunderstood, but you'll be known by heaven. And that's what truly counts. Because at the end of it all, you won't stand before people, you'll stand before God. And in that moment, all the opinions, all the pressures, all the expectations will fall away. What will remain is your heart, your life, your obedience. So live for that moment. Let it guide your choices. Let it shape your days. Because when you live to honor God, you'll find a freedom this world can never give and a purpose that nothing can take away. Time is one of the most precious gifts we've been given, yet it's also one of the most carelessly spent. We act like we have an unlimited supply, like tomorrow is guaranteed, like there's always more time to do what matters most. But time doesn't wait. It doesn't pause or rewind. Every moment that passes is a moment we never get back. And the truth is, the way we spend our time reveals what we truly value. We find time for what we love. We make space for what we worship. That's why it's not just about managing your schedule. It's about aligning your priorities. Are you spending your life chasing things that won't matter 5 years from now? Or are you investing in what will last beyond this lifetime? So many people spend their energy running toward things that fade. They pour themselves into temporary success, into outward appearance, into worldly status, only to find that none of it satisfies. And by the time they realize it, too much has been lost. Relationships have grown cold. Faith has withered. Purpose has been buried under distractions. But it doesn't have to be that way. You still have today. You still have breath in your lungs and strength in your bones. And that means you still have time to turn toward what matters most. You can't reclaim yesterday, but you can redeem today. Time is a mirror. It shows us what's truly ruling our hearts. That's why God doesn't just ask for our Sunday mornings. He asks for our lives. He wants to walk with us through every hour, not just the moments we feel spiritual. And when we begin to view time as sacred, as a divine opportunity, rather than a daily grind, everything changes. Our choices become more intentional. Our relationships become more meaningful. Our hearts become more focused. Because we begin to understand that every day is a gift, not to be wasted in worry or idleness, but to be lived with clarity, gratitude, and devotion. When you honor your time, you honor your life. And when you honor your life, you honor the one who gave it. There is no greater tragedy than a soul that lives distracted, not evil, not rebellious, just distracted, slowly pulled away from what matters most by things that seem urgent but are ultimately empty. We live in a world designed to steal your focus, to feed you constant noise, to keep you busy but not fulfilled. And without even realizing it, you begin to drift. Not because you stopped believing, but because you stopped paying attention. Your heart becomes numb. Your spirit grows dull. Your days get filled, but your soul feels empty. That's the silent danger of distraction. It doesn't feel like destruction, but it leads you far from the life you were meant to live. The enemy doesn't always show up as chaos or catastrophe. Sometimes he shows up as comfort, as endless scrolling, as passive entertainment, as the quiet belief that there's always more time, always another chance, always tomorrow. But that's a lie. Because the more distracted you become, the less room there is for what really matters: truth, purpose, calling, and the voice of God. A cluttered heart can't hear clearly. A busy life can't bear lasting fruit. You weren't created to live scattered and disconnected. You were created to live focused, intentional, and in communion with your Creator. There is freedom in choosing to unplug from the noise of the world and reconnect to the stillness of God, in choosing to silence the distractions and realign your heart with eternal things. That may mean turning down good things to protect the best things. It may mean saying no more often, not to be selfish, but to stay spiritually awake. Because a focused life is a powerful life. A distracted mind produces shallow results, but a heart fully set on God moves mountains, changes lives, and leaves a mark on eternity. Don't let distractions steal your destiny. Guard your attention, protect your time, clear the clutter from your soul, and return daily to the one who alone can satisfy. Because when your eyes are fixed on Him, the noise fades, and your purpose becomes clear again. There will always be voices trying to define you, voices from your past, from the culture, from your own insecurities. They'll try to tell you who you are, what you're worth, and how far you can go. Some will label you by your failures. Others will limit you by your weaknesses. But none of those voices speak the truth of who you are in God's eyes. You were never meant to live according to the world's definition of success. You were never called to be a copy of someone else. You were made with divine intention, shaped by the hands of a Creator who sees value far beyond what people notice. And until you start seeing yourself through His eyes, you'll always feel like you're not enough. True identity isn't found in achievements, possessions, or popularity. It's found in knowing who made you and why He made you. You are not here by accident. You are not the product of chance. You are the result of a divine decision. That means your worth is not up for debate. It's not determined by your performance. It's not erased by your mistakes. It was sealed long before you were born. You are chosen. You are loved. You are known. And nothing anyone says or does can strip that identity away unless you allow it. So stop living under false labels. Stop shrinking to fit into places God never assigned to you. Stop trying to prove your value to people who can't see your worth. When you truly know who you are, you stop chasing empty validation. You start walking in quiet confidence, not arrogance, but assurance. You begin to live with clarity and direction. You serve without needing applause. You give without needing to be seen, because your life is rooted in something deeper. And when that identity is firm, the world can shake, people can talk, storms can rise, but you will not be moved. Because you finally understand this truth, your value comes not from what you do, but from whose you are. And when you live from that truth, everything changes. One day, your time on this earth will come to an end. That's not meant to scare you, it's meant to wake you up. Because the finish line is real. And when that moment comes, you won't get to take anything with you. Not the money you earned, not the awards you received, not the applause of the crowd. None of it will matter. The only thing that will remain is the legacy of your choices, the condition of your soul, and the relationship you cultivated with the one who gave you life. And that's why how you live today matters more than you can imagine. Every word you speak, every act of love, every moment of obedience, it all echoes into eternity. Your life is not random. It's not meaningless. It's a thread in a much bigger story. And you get to decide what kind of story it will tell. When you live with eternity in mind, you stop wasting time on petty things. You stop chasing things that fade. You start living with purpose. You start loving with urgency. You begin to ask, not what do I want today, but what does God want from me today? That shift doesn't make life easier, but it makes it richer, fuller, eternal. You begin to forgive more freely. You give more generously. You speak more truthfully. And even in suffering, you hold on to hope because you know this world is not your home. You're just passing through. You're preparing for something greater, something everlasting. So ask yourself, when your time here is done, what will remain? Will people remember your kindness, your integrity, your faith? Will heaven echo with the impact of your obedience? Or will your life be a blur of missed opportunities and empty pursuits? The good news is, it's not too late to change. As long as there's breath in your lungs, you can choose to live differently, choose to live fully, choose to live for what will last, because life is short, but eternity is not. And when you live every day for God, you won't just leave behind a memory, you'll leave behind a legacy that leads others home.